CNVC New Future Process 1 Integrated Plan presented to the NVC community by the Integration Council 2016. Our shared vision for community and organization. We envision a world where systems, cultures, and individuals support the well-being and empowerment of all people, with care for past, present, and future life. CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Table of Contents 2A in brief 1. Title page 2. Table of Contents 3. Introduction in progress 4. More details about Vision 5. Summary of changes 6. Glossary NVC 0 Community 1. Overview of the NVC 0 Community 2. More details about Purpose and Mission 3. Structure of the NVC 0 Community. See Core Infrastructure 1. Overview of Organizational Infrastructure 2. More details about Cultural Elements 3. Structural Details 4. Operational Agreements 5. Meta Comments about Structure 6. Creating Access 7. Resources D. Specific Applications 1. Community 2. Recognized Roles 3. Learning Events 4. Social Change and PC Building E-Agreements and Systems 1. Overview 2. Governance 3. Creating Access 4. Feedback System Initial 5. Conflict Transformation Initial 6. Onboarding Process Initial F. Transition Plans 1. From Current CNVC to Self-Managing Weaves 2. NVC 0 Transitional Partners 3. Tentative Implementation Schedule 4. Ideas for Launch of NVC 0 OG Weaves, Handbook and Recommended Guidelines 1. Recommendations for Effectiveness in Groups 2. Outline for Living Guidebook for NVC Communities 3. Process Decisions used by the Integration Council H. Implementation Tasks 1. Overview of Implementation Tasks 2. Getting NVC 0 up and running 3. Prototyping 4. Supporting Weaves 5. Structure and Governance Tasks 6. Establishing Systems Tasks 7. Specific Applications Tasks 8. Creating Access Tasks 9. Other Supplementary Material 1. Other Decisions made by the Integration Council 2. LNTPI 12 CNVC 2016 Budget 3. CNVC Profit and Loss 2016-01 4. CNVC Balance Sheet 2016-01 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Introduction. For a note about spelling choices throughout this document, the Integration Council has adopted the British spelling of words, for example organization instead of organization. The reason for this was to contribute to moving away from CNVC being perceived and operating as a U.S. organization, the language itself subtly contributing to a more global perspective. We are deeply aware of the irony of the history of colonialism and imperialism that originated in England and created the U.S. in the first place. A note about the name of the organization. As our work progressed, it became clear to us that the name, the Center for Nonviolent Communication, no longer fits with the reality the integrated plan describes, as there is no center, no central decision-making or doing. As a placeholder, in this document we will refer to the organization as NVC 0 for NVC Organization. As a placeholder, and because it doesn't roll off the tongue with any ease, it serves as a bit of a jarring moment to remind us that we are, after all, talking about something entirely new. As part of the conversation about choosing a name, we are aware of both advantages and disadvantages to keeping the same acronym, CNVC. On the one hand, it allows for already existing references to CNVC on the Internet to take people to the new organization, as well as allowing continued use of the short web address, cnvc.org. On the other hand, given how much is changing with the new future process, keeping the initials may keep blurry just how different things are and may contribute to unconscious reinforcement of the idea that there is indeed a central authority somewhere in this structure. 1 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 5 More details about vision. We envision a world where systems, cultures, and individuals support the well-being and empowerment of all people, with care for past, present, and future life. Our community and organization share a single vision of the world we want to live in. We dream of a relationally oriented world where power is shared, access to resources is available to all, and we celebrate our interconnectedness and our unique ways of being. Our vision focuses our collective energy on collaborating in order to cultivate well-being that naturally emerges from connecting to and addressing universal needs. We recognize a continuity through time and across all species, acknowledging the systemic interactions of our strategic choices and how the choices we make individually and collectively affect both the whole and all of its parts, now and in the future. We aim to make choices that contribute to the most needs at the least cost, and remain sensitive to feedback to continually refine more life-affirming choices. With ever-increasing capability, understanding and awareness, we live our vision in the present moment. 1. CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 6 Summary of Changes. We believe that the easiest way to understand the integrated plan is to contrast what exists now with what is being planned. In briefest summary, the integrated plan organizes the global NVC network in a way that allows the existing functions and organizations in the network at large to continue while creating a formal and stronger tie between the NVC0 community and NVCO, the new organization. The new structure also provides a more formal coherence through the virtual home and through the existence of a shared vision along with two distinct sets of purpose and mission. In addition, the new structure completely changes the functioning of NVCO, now nested within the NVC0 community. Overall, the new structure makes possible three things. 1. There will now be ways for the NVC0 to engage in projects. 2. It will now be possible for anyone who wants to contribute to the NVC0 and particular ways to do so. 3. There will now be a way for the NVC0 and the community to have awareness of the different functions they serve and to relate in specific, mutually supportive ways. In addition, the integrated plan attends to issues of power and privilege currently existing within the NVC network structurally, so that access to all our resources will be dramatically increased. The plan also includes significant changes for the certification and training functions currently run by CNVC. The table below provides more details about these changes, which are then spelled out in the subsequent documents. A decision-making present. CNVC is an organization with an office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA, incorporated in the USA. Decisions are made by its board of directors, its staff of less than 10 people, a group of assessors who make decisions about trainer certification, and others such as NT organizers and trainers with whom those in the organization choose to collaborate. There is no formal mechanism for certified trainers or others in the global NVC network to participate in decision-making. 1. Future NVC0 is an organization with no physical headquarters, incorporated outside of the USA. It is made up of partners distributed around the world, and it is relatively simple for anyone who chooses to become a partner. Partners are organized into self-managed teams, organizational weaves. Partners and their teams operate autonomously with full decision-making authority. There are no command and control structures. There are structures to support dialogue and decisions about common concerns. Operational agreements support alignment and effective, harmonious operation. Decisions are made by partners and the weaves they belong to. What's changed? Decisions continue to be made by those who actively work within the organization. However, many more people are considered to be actively working within NVC0 than were in CNVC. It is relatively easy for anyone who wants to take on this role of being a partner, with associated decision-making authority. Decision-making is more distributed than ever before. The intention is to eliminate decision-making bottlenecks and the need to wait for someone else to act before movement is possible. The global NVC network present. The global NVC network consists of all the people in the world, trainers, supporters, and committed enthusiasts, who are passionate about NVC and are at least in some small way involved in sharing it with others. The global NVC network is divided into an organization, CNVC, and the community that surrounds and supports it, consisting of individuals and of local groups and organizations. The only established relationship between CNVC and others is with certified trainers. While people might still use the term informally to refer to the same group, there is no role for this term in the new structure. What's changed? There is no change in the overall division between the community and NVCO, and in the functions that the community serves. There is significant change in the composition of NVC0 and in its relationship with the community. See the community. Present. We define current community as the loose collection of individuals and groups, for example Bank, Dutch, NVC Academy, around the world that are passionate about NVC and want to be in relationship with each other. Individuals and groups have a variety of ways to connect with each other. Connecticut List, other CNVC email lists, registering as supporter on the website, visiting the website. An organized group with a virtual home, a vision, a purpose, and a mission. Individuals register as members of the NVC0 community based on self-selecting criteria, including in going beyond passion about NVC. They can find each other on the virtual home, and be part of groups, community weaves. Existing organizations may register as community weaves, and new community weaves, and related to any pre-existing group, may also form. The NVC0 community is linked to NVC01 through NVC0 community members who choose to also join NVC0 as NVC0 partners, and 2 through NVCO's function of supporting the NVC0 community. What's changed? There are two main changes here. 1. The NVC0 community is likely to now have more of a sense of being a whole, having its own vision, purpose, and mission, and a structure that allows a formal and specific connection with NVCO. 2. Members will have more capacity to find and relate to each other. The organization present CNVC, a formal entity registered in the U.S., with an office, a board, a staff, and a few individuals appointed to specific volunteer roles, for example assessors, new future process working groups. NVCO, a formal entity registered outside the U.S., possibly in multiple locations including the U.S., with a virtual home and an unlimited number of partners who self-select based on rigorous criteria of contribution and service in connection with a clear vision, purpose, and mission, and who agree to function in certain ways. They are connected through a netweb of weaves that form as needed to support the work and mission. What's changed? This is where the majority of the change is happening. The NVC0 is dispersed, with action happening wherever there is energy. It is open to being joined, and has an extensive structure that supports self-management everywhere. The structure allows for projects to emerge anywhere so long as there are people who are committed to doing them, and for ways of doing global fundraising to support such projects. There is no central location, no central body that makes things happen or prevents them from happening. Everything that takes place happens in specific weaves, with specific people initiating, implementing, and sustaining projects. A relationship between CNVC and larger community present. The only established connection is between CNVC and individual certified trainers. Many people are confused about what is the community and what is CNVC, believing that CNVC is the community as a whole where, in fact, it is only the formal organization. Future members of the NVC0 community can choose to become part of NVC0 by becoming an NVC0 partner. Each community weave, which may be an existing NVC group, or a newly formed group, is invited to connect with NVC0 through having a minimum of 1/12 of those participating being NVC0 partners, thereby allowing for support for the NVC0 community and for feedback to NVC0. There is also a relationship in the sense of coherence to the whole, itself strengthened by the fact that the NVC0 community and NVC0 share their vision. Finally, since NVC0 and the NVC0 community share the virtual home, there is likely to be more ease in providing awareness and mutual support. What's changed? It is hard to exactly delineate how these changes will unfold and how/when new relationships will stabilize. Part of the challenge is how to support everyone in understanding the distinction between people who are ready, willing, and able to help build NVC Zero and people who are passionate about NVC and want to belong to a larger community without necessarily being engaged in supporting NVC Zero specifically. If things unfold as anticipated in this plan, and aligned with the backbone role of NVCO, there will be far more coordination, support, and coherence than at present, when support and coordination depend on a small group of overworked staff and mechanisms do not exist for making CNVC effective in providing resources to individuals, communities, and organizations that bring NVC to the world. If membership present no mechanism exists for membership in CNVC future. Two ways of joining: 1. As the member of the NVC Zero community, which provides access to all resources on the virtual home, many of which will also available also to the public at large, and an opportunity to belong to a larger whole with a purpose related to increasing the role of NVC in the world. 2. NVC Zero members may also become NVC Zero partner, which entails an additional commitment to service in support of the NVC Zero community and in support of the world. Partners participate in decision-making, individually through the advice process as it relates to their own work, as part of groups reaching collaborative decisions as needed, through direct or indirect selection of people to serve on the Global Council. What's changed? This is one of the major changes that our work brings about. Creating access present both CNVC as an organization and other entities such as local organizations and individual trainers provide access to resources on a case-by-case basis. Future NVC Zero is embracing a structural commitment to attend to issues of power and privilege and to flow resources from where they exist to where they are needed. This plan establishes a variety of mechanisms for doing that, including both operating agreements and specific structures such as the Access Weave Cluster and the role of access point people on weaves. See the Creating Access section for details. What's changed? Small bullet: a major explicit commitment to creating access and to attending to issues of power, privilege, and resource disparity. Small bullet: specific operational agreements are included in this plan to ensure that the commitment is anchored structurally and doesn't depend on individuals overcoming acculturation into privilege that usually results in continued practices that perpetuate the privilege. Small bullet mechanisms are built in for training and learning in this area to become more integrated through the recognized role system. See below. 8. Resources present: all common resources are held by CNVC with little to no input from others in the allocation of these resources. Individuals and groups that are part of the global NVC network generate and allocate their own resources independently of CNVC. Certified trainer agreements specify amounts of money that trainers will pay annually to CNVC. Future: those within the NVC Zero community continue to operate as they currently do in terms of resources. The plan calls for partners and weaves within NVC Zero to be autonomous in their decisions about resources they themselves generate for their own use, and to participate in generation and allocation of common resources through a budget marketplace that takes place as periodically utilizing a modified advice process and other mechanisms. What's changed? Small bullet: resources flow in multiple directions. Small bullet: full transparency of resource generation and allocation within NVC Zero. Small bullet: possibility for partners to participate in decisions related to resources. Small bullet: projects can operate without waiting for a central authority to fund them. 1. Certification and NTR. At present, CNVC has two long-term goals for the certification process. One is to create a community of trainers who want to work with CNVC to fulfill our vision. The second is to ensure that the next generation and succeeding generations are taught NVC in a way that preserves and protects the integrity of the NVC process. People may go through an individual certification process to take on the title CNVC Certified Trainer by working directly with a CNVC assessor. The process is generally outlined in the certification preparation packet and is individually tailored. Certification can occur one-on-one with an assessor or in community settings of candidates and assessors. Future to support our hope of thriving, interdependent communities around the world, we choose to recognize individuals who integrate the principles of NVC in project-based, community-focused, and relationship-oriented ways. By having NVC 0 recognized roles, we encourage awareness and clarity of what the practice of NVC is and how it supports interdependence as concretely seen through words, actions, and choices in ways that inspire and inform others. There will be a recognized role of NVC practitioner for those who are integrating NVC into their daily lives and are engaged in NVC community. NVC ambassador is another recognized role where NVC is individually integrated as well as applied in various fields such as conflict resolution, education, families, healthcare, mediation, and others. Each field has its own endorsement. Recognized roles are based on self-reflection and feedback from NVC communities. What's changed? Small bullet recognized roles are no longer just limited to NVC certified trainer. Instead, they include NVC practitioner and NVC ambassador in a variety of fields. Small bullet recognized roles are determined based on self-reflection and feedback from recognized roles weave members rather than feedback from a sole assessor. Small bullet weaves co-create systems that support ongoing growth, learning, and feedback. Small bullet power and privilege training and awareness is part of the path to recognized roles. J Trainings present NVC sponsors international intensive trainings NTS around the world. Learnings from all these trainings are not integrated, but often disappear when an NT ends. NTS struggle with adapting to local non-Western cultures. Future NVC 0 sponsors international intensive trainings, facilitated learning gatherings and self-organized NVC gatherings. Learnings from all events are carefully harvested and considered when preparing new events. Lots of care and consideration given to reinventing NTS so that they fully adapt to local cultures and values. What's changed? Small bullet greater variety of official offerings that support more collaboration, adapt to more learning styles, and allow for more contribution. Small bullet ongoing feedback and evolution are integral to the process. Small bullet NVC is made more relevant to multiple cultures and contexts. NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 13 Glossary. In coming up with the terms to use in this plan, our goal has been to minimize the possibility of the new structure and functions being filtered through the lens of existing organizational structures in the world. We chose carefully. In particular, the structure and governance aspects of this plan introduce various and familiar terms and may create potential challenges for translators. Our choice is based on the understanding that the words we use influence and inform how we think about things, the cornerstone of NVC work. In this context, new words may support new thinking. The order of the terms in this glossary is the order in which they appear in the plan. VPM, vision, purpose, and mission is defined initially by the Integration Council and as they evolve over time. NVC 0 Community, the entire collection of individuals that are coming together within this structure, united by their passion and enthusiasm for living and sharing NVC. NVC 0, NVC the organization, a placeholder for the new name instead of Center for Nonviolent Communication, the subset of the community that self-selects to proactively contribute to an additional purpose and mission of actively supporting the NVC 0 community and of facilitating structural and systemic change in the world, supported by an organizational structure and a framework of shared agreements. A member of the NVC 0 community, someone who joins the NVC 0 community and participates in any way that makes sense to them. A NVC 0 partner, someone who, in addition to being a member of the NVC 0 community, is also committed to the additional purpose and mission of NVC 0 and participates in at least one organizational weave, collaborating with other partners and participating in collective responsibility in ways guided by the operational agreements. The NetWeb, the term we use to describe the way we structure our component parts. Weave, the name of the individual structural units of the NVC0 community and of NVC0 that make up the nodes of the NetWeb. A community. Weave, a group of any size of members who come together within the NVC0 community for purposes of learning, connection, support, healing, community, and/or contribution. 114. An organizational. Weave, a group of up to 12 partners who come together within NVC0 for a purpose of serving and getting things done. They may come together based on geographic location, common interest, function, focus, or project. A cluster, a structural unit within NVC0 where weaves are organized into 9 primary groups: community interface, maintenance, resources, organizational process, creating access, external communications, applications, projects, NVC evolution and innovation. The Global Council (GC), a structural unit within NVC0 with specific coordination and initiation functions. When the weaves come together, one person selected from each cluster, a Global Council holder, an internal leader, and a person selected from the NVC0 community, for a total of 12. Internal leader, a person selected by the Global Council to tend to carefully defined functions of leadership, including building relationships within NVCO, integrity of our work, and the overall function of the organization. Operational agreement (OA), an agreed-upon way of doing things, the equivalent of policy in the new structure, such as for organizational weaves to divide when they reach the number 12 so as to preserve effective action and decision-making. Operational agreements may apply throughout the organization or only in parts of NVCO. Their function is fully explained in the Operational Agreements document. The Virtual Home, NVCO's state-of-the-art online virtual home, open 24/7/365 that enables international coordination, collaboration, and communication among members, partners, weaves, and other units of the whole. Specialized role, a role that is present in multiple weaves, or which serves people in multiple weaves. Recognized roles, the term used to describe the function that will replace certification in NVCO, recognizing those who, through the practice of NVC, live in ways that support a world that works for all on personal, interpersonal, and systemic levels. Specifically, individuals are recognized who integrate the principles of NVC in project-based, community-focused, and relationship-oriented ways. In order to encourage awareness and clarity of what the practice of NVC is and how it supports interdependence. NVC practitioners, individuals who are actively pursuing the integration and application of NVC principles into their daily life on the personal, interpersonal, and systemic levels. They live and apply NVC principles primarily in various social contexts including personal and professional arenas. NVC ambassadors, integrated NVC practitioners with post-conventional fluidity who apply NVC principles and practices in specified fields. They share NVC principles primarily through the application of the principles in various fields. Note: current certified trainers fall into this category, as well as those applying NVC in mediation, social change, organizational settings, etc. Recognized role, or RAR, weave, a relationally oriented transformational living, learning, feedback community and social labs housed within NVCO. RAR weaves focus on collaborative, 360-degree feedback, emphasizing support for an integrity of embodied and applied NVC. Membership may be fluid as individuals who have stepped into recognized roles may move into different weaves or stay with a RAR weave as mentors and collaborators with those who are seeking to step into recognized roles. Recognized role weave coach, an individual who provides support for recognized role weave system setup, maintenance, and conflict transformation within and between RAR weaves. RAR weave coaches also provide feedback for individuals and communities throughout their journey of integrating NVC consciousness. Integration trustee, an individual who supports weaves in engaging in open feedback for embodying and applying NVC as well as discernment of NVC integrity. NVC Integration Trustees also provide feedback to individuals seeking recognized roles and are part of the 360-degree feedback process in our Weaves Global Recognized Role Stewardship Council, a support weave that focuses on tracking the integrity, evolution, intercultural applications, access, practices, processes and general weave support for all our weaves. 3C NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 16 Overview of the NVC Zero Community. The overall structure of the NVC Zero Community and NVC Zero, the organization within it, serving all who are connected to nonviolent communication, is a NetWeb. The NVC Zero Community includes the entire collection of individuals that are coming together within the NetWeb. The NVC Zero Community consists of members and includes a self-selecting subset of members that make up the NVC Zero, the organization, as partners. Information about NVC Zero appears in subsequent documents within the integrated plan. This document describes the purpose, mission, and structure of the NVC Zero Community and all its members. Purpose of NVC Zero Community: to live and radiate interdependence and compassion. Mission of NVC Zero Community: we are an informal community spread across the world, dedicated to supporting members of our community and individuals and organizations beyond that community in creating a world that works for all. We, 1. Connect by actively reaching out to individuals and organizations and supporting them to learn and integrate NVC principles and practices. 2. Support each other through empathic and authentic presence and connection. 3. Develop principles and invent practices through hands-on work in different contexts and cultures that contribute to the creation of a world that works for all. 4. Model nonviolent communication principles and practices as individuals, in our interactions with others, and in the groups and organizations that we work in and with. 5. Inspire others to consider looking at NVC principles and practices as a tool that could enrich their lives. 6. Initiate and organize events that nourish, celebrate and expand our community. 7. Provide input for the organization by harvesting the wisdom and knowledge generated within the community. 117 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan. More details about purpose and mission. Purpose of NVC Zero Community: to live and radiate interdependence and compassion. In his pamphlet Being Me, Loving You, Marshall Rosenberg pointed to 3 things required to live nonviolent communication: spiritual clarity, remembering the purpose of NVC, practice, and a community of support. The purpose of our global community is to awaken and remember spiritual clarity by offering opportunities to practice NVC and to support one another in living and being NVC in community. Spiritual clarity. The purpose of NVC is to awaken a quality of connection that creates, sustains and supports compassionate giving and receiving. Our community calls the membership to radiate that clear intention, transmitting inspiration to our world about what is possible for all in a life-serving community. Practice. We practice together to support everyone interested in remembering and living the purpose of nonviolent communication, to remember natural giving and receiving and to live compassionately. We remind one another that every moment contains abundant opportunities to more fully embody NVC through self-connection, authenticity and empathy. Every life-serving human endeavor offers the opportunity to apply NVC to meet more needs with less cost. Community. We contribute to peace and well-being through living NVC within ourselves in the company of one another, and to model NVC to people who may not identify themselves as members of our community. All 3 threads interweave to create a fabric of interdependence and compassion. Acknowledging our interdependence, we move naturally toward compassionate action in the service of universal well-being. Mission of community: we are an informal community spread across the world, dedicated to supporting members of our community and individuals and organizations beyond that community in creating a world that works for all. Larger and more inclusive than the NVC organization emerging from the New Future Process, We celebrate a much broader tapestry of individuals, groups, and communities who share a common interest in learning, living and being NVC. We also acknowledge that we are an integral part of something even larger than our community that includes all individuals, cultures, groups and organizations, indeed all living beings. We support all life-serving systems, first surviving, then thriving. We, 1. Connect by actively reaching out to individuals and organizations and supporting them to learn and integrate NVC principles and practices. Our community is a connecting point, a global hub that invites and welcomes all who have an interest in discovering how NVC can enhance their lives. 2. Support each other through empathic and authentic presence and connection. We make ourselves available to one another in order to support well-being through the practice of self-connection, honesty and empathy. 3. Develop principles and invent practices through hands-on work in different contexts and cultures that contribute to the creation of a world that works for all. We acknowledge that NVC is a living process, always evolving. By actively seeking feedback, we experiment and innovate to continually develop new practices and enhance what we already experience as supporting connection in the service of compassionate giving and receiving. With ever-increasing depth and breadth, we continually discover new applications of NVC wherever people connect with one another and with all life. 4. Model nonviolent communication principles and practices as individuals, in our interactions with others, and in the groups and organizations that we work in and with. We understand that living with integrity means embodying NVC with ever-increasing ability, and that how we live NVC in our everyday activities demonstrates our integration more than what we say or what we teach. 2:19:5. Inspire others to consider looking at NVC principles and practices as a tool that could enrich their lives. Our individual and collective actions, and our way of being, act as a beacon, inviting everyone to join with us in our commitment to contribute to universal well-being. 6. Initiate and organize events that nourish, celebrate and expand our community. We proactively move toward fulfilling our mission through living our shared values with one another and by inviting all who are interested to learn and practice together. We commit ourselves to making our community more easily accessible to everyone who desires to connect with us. 7. Provide input for the organization by harvesting the wisdom and knowledge generated within the community. We acknowledge our abiding connection to the organization by supporting the free flow of information. We celebrate that what we are learning as a community supports the organization in more effectively fulfilling its purpose and mission and moves us all toward fulfilling our shared vision. 3C NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 20 Structure of the NVC Zero Community. The NVC Zero Community is made up of members, all the people in the world, for example trainers, supporters, and committed enthusiasts, who are inspired by NVC and are choosing to be part of the NVC Zero community because they are in alignment with its VPM. Everything currently, as of 2016, happening in the world of NVC that is coordinated by any individual or group that is informally part of NVC Zero itself continues uninterrupted unless specific existing groups want to change their activities or structures. Individuals become members of the NVC Zero community because 1. They are inspired by the VPM. 2. They are inspired by and long to learn and integrate the values, behavior and communication styles that are identified by NVC Zero as being in alignment with the VPM. And when 1. They become in some way connected to a community weave 2. They register on the virtual home as members. Community weaves. The NVC Zero community is organized as an indefinite number of community weaves that come together for a variety of purposes. Some community weaves have as their primary purpose supporting each other's learning, growth, healing, and transformation. For example, many existing practice groups might choose to become community weaves. Other community weaves have as their primary purpose sharing NVC with others. For example, existing organizations and groups such as Dutch and Bank. There is no expectation or any explicit agreement or commitment to contribute to the VPM. It is only individual community weaves who choose for themselves if there are ways they want to contribute. Community weaves have access to all the resources generated by NVC0 and made available to the NVC0 community, including the virtual home, support from people, materials, and more. Community weaves are formed when at least two members come together with a shared purpose. Groups become community weaves by registering themselves on the virtual home. Registration includes information on the purpose, geographic location if geographically based, size category, approximate number of members involved, etc., of the weave, to support people in locating community weaves that may be of interest to them. Community weaves are encouraged to have a minimum of 1/12 of those participating be partners as a way to maintain a close link with NVCO. Link with NVC0 serves the following purposes: small bullet supporting global connection and coordination. Small bullet more effective and informed contribution. Small bullet mutual learning and support. Partners who are part of community weaves feed information back to NVC0 about what is happening in the NVC0 community and the ideas and activities that are flourishing there.